Hello random people on the internet, my name is Banana, and we're looking at a forum post about the Alpha Network and the future of Skyblock here. Shouldn't be too long of a video, but I want to give you guys some information and my first reactions to a lot of these. I did read this beforehand, but this is a crazy forum post talking about releases up until 2022 and maybe even 2023, because they said that some things might end up getting delayed, so don't get too hyped. All of this is subject to change, but first we're just going to look at the AlphaNet. The AlphaNet is out right now with the new Dwarven Caves update, nicknamed the Crystal Hollows. So this is just a brand new thing. I haven't really seen much of it, but it looks like it's adding a bunch of things related to making your stats more customizable by adding different gemstones to armor and stuff like that. It's a bunch of weird things related to the Gwendolyn NPC. So this is going to be pretty interesting. The AlphaNet is from right now until the release of Skyblock 0.12, which later in the forum post they do say is July 6th, hopefully. So that's the information on the alpha pretty much. They're going to start by just having MVP++ is able to log in, but it's going to open to everyone as soon as traffic slows down a little bit. Your profile is going to be copied over to the AlphaNet, which is nice because on the Dungeons Alpha, your profile was not copied over. You were given a set amount of stats. So they're mainly just using this to make sure that the updates are not going to crash everything and ruin the game, and that's sort of what they talk about in this portion and just everything here. They have some known issues, so we know that there's a new pet called the Armadillo Pet. That's going to be pretty cool. There's Heart of the Mountain level 6. There's a perk called the Mole Perk, so that's going to be interesting. A few skins are currently missing because they haven't made them, and there is some things that aren't balanced and will change before release, so they mentioned that there. There also is a reward for going on the AlphaNet. You're going to be able to get a unique limited edition collectible pickaxe. We don't really know any details. They said that's going to get released later, so that's related to the Crystal Hollows. They mentioned that they are doing this because updates have caused disasters here and there, and they're going to plan to have the Alpha Network turned on for every single future release of Skyblock, because they want to prevent these bugs that are just crashing everything in the game and just ruining things. So they're going to put things on the AlphaNet, and depending on the size of the update, it will be on the AlphaNet for a different period of time. Minor releases, maybe a day or two, and massive updates will usually get a week of AlphaNet, is what they're saying. I'm not sure how I feel about this, because I feel like the AlphaNet sort of ruins the day one experience of the update, because we're basically going to go in knowing everything that's going to happen. So it makes it a bit weirder, because going in on the AlphaNet and getting day one stuff is not going to be nearly as fun, especially when stuff doesn't get copied over. So like if you got a rare pet on AlphaNet that is coming out with the update, it's gonna suck because you're not gonna be able to transfer that to the main server, which will be a bit annoying, but it definitely will help with the polish of updates. And I guess if you don't want to have your day one experience ruined, you don't have to go on the AlphaNet, but then you'll have the problem of people knowing what to efficiently go for and just grind before you. So it's going to be a little bit weird, but I'm okay with it. I think if we're getting rid of bugs on updates, it'll be really helpful to just have people alpha testing. Next up, they say what's next for Skyblock, and they mention that they have some exciting plans and that they are going to share those plans in a roadmap. This has never gone wrong. They've never announced an update too early, such as, I don't know, a dungeon update. That'd be really weird. But they said that 1.0 is finally something they are able to see coming soon, and they can't give a time frame on it, but they can share a few details on what it is and what needs to release before it. So we're going to go through all of these one by one, and these are crazy. So the first one is the Dwarven Mines update, the Crystal Hollows. They said hopefully July 6th, as long as there's not bugs on the Alpha Network that are game breaking. I would assume that we're going to get this on July 6th. And it's adding unique mining content, a lot of new items and collections, and a new unique way to enhance armor. And I saw pictures of that related to gemstones, so that's going to be pretty cool. But I'm hyped for this second one, boys, because a new island tied to foraging is coming later in 2021. Foraging needs an update as massive as mining got with Crystal Hollows. However, what we are currently planning is nothing anyone could ever guess. More details later. I love foraging. I've just made a whole video on how I got foraging 50 in 5 days, and I am just so excited. I'm amped for this to come out, because it's just gonna be amazing. Because if it's getting an update as big as the Crystal Hollows, that means we get new content, new items, collections for foraging. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Later in 2021. They don't give really good time frames here, so that could mean that we get it in December. That could mean that we get it sometime around, I would bet, September, October, maybe, if they're not giving a time frame of very soon. So expect a foraging update as one of the next updates. That's going to be amazing. And then the next one is a revamp of an old classic. And I think everyone knows when they're reading this what the classic is. I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. We're getting a Blazing Fortress revamp. They're picking up a combat island that is, let's be honest, completely useless at the moment in the current player progression. I'm sure you guys can figure out which it is just by saying this. Please note there's a chance this revamp is pushed to 1.0, but at the moment we are planning on releasing it before. We'll be changing this island so much that at this point it's basically a completely new island. It'll also be in a different spot for player progression. Late game. So we're getting a late game combat island revamp of a useless island. I mean, you can just assume it is the Blazing Fortress because that island is literally garbage, and that's going to be a really cool update. That's going to, just the Blazing Fortress sucks. A combat island that is completely new and is late game is hype. They could add a new Slayer there. They could do so much with the Blazing Fortress that it's just, I just want it. I want it now. Give it to me. But that is later in 2021. And then Skyblock official 1.0 release is the next thing that they mentioned. Sometime in 2022 is the roadmap that they have. So they are planning 6 months or 5 months in advance right now when it comes to this. At least 5 months. And they said that this can definitely get delayed. But they have massive plans for it. And compared to the current game, it will feel like an expansion. It should come with a lot of content like new islands. I want to highlight something. There's an S there, islands, and features, which we'll provide more information about in the next few months, as well as a complete rebalance of the entire game. The game is going to be out of the prototype lobby at that point, and please note that development is at an extremely early phase for 1.0, and they have literally no idea when it's going to be released. And if we get too hyped and they delay it to 2023, don't say that they didn't warn us. And then after 1.0, this is something that I've talked about a lot on Eelman's Twitch stream, on my Twitch stream, and it is for any content after 1.0. They are considering the possibility of using recent Minecraft version releases to add even more content to the game. That means we can get 1.16, 1.17 Skyblock, and that would be amazing. I know it's controversial because PvPers don't really want to hop onto the newer versions, but the amount of blocks, mobs, armor, just so many different things that we would gain by having Skyblock be on the later versions is so much better than just having a little bit better clicking on 1.8.9. And it's an idea that they're exploring, and it might not necessarily become a reality, but it is on the table. And it's good to hear that from the admins, because oh my goodness, that'd just be insane. Imagine fighting goats in HYPIXEL SKYBLOCK, or just literally, there's so many things that they could do. There is infinite options with the versions above 1.8.9, because you would have things like the Nether change, you would have the End Islands, you would have the Oceans Aquatic, everything from Village and Pillage. Just 1.16 in general is just a huge update when it comes to everything in the Nether. A new Blazing Fortress with all of those kind of blocks, insane, would be absolutely cracked. Imagine foraging a new kind of wood from the Nether. Oh my god. And then the mobs and blocks from 1.17 as well would just be so good in Skyblock. And that's something that they are debating adding in the future. And that's after 1.0, which is in 2022 at this point. That's all we know. So don't assume that's happening anytime soon. But that is crazy that it is even a possibility. Last but not least, they are talking about the complete rebalance of the game with 1.0, and they're basically saying that major nerfs don't come with a lot of ideas and they don't just throw them in randomly. The strength nerf was very necessary to them because player damage is getting absurdly high in ludicrous cases, But it's just, it's basically trying to take the 1% players and tone them down a little bit, because there's an insane discrepancy between someone like Death Streaks and someone like a mid-game player wearing Shadow Assassin and using a Livid Dagger, which isn't even really mid-game. The average player does not have these amazing high-end stats, so they can't really build updates around these 1% players, because then the mid-game players have no chance at fighting anything. So they have to balance the game really weird right now, and just changing up the entire balance with 1.0 would probably be the best aspect, the best way to tie everyone more together and keep the difficulty of the game sort of the same. So they said they're going to be revisiting every aspect of the game and changing numbers everywhere. It's a lot of math. And they're saying that everyone's first impression of the rebalancing will be that they're hitting less hard, but enemy health will be lowered to follow the change, and they're hoping to keep everything the same difficulty level without having to reach billions of damage per hit. At the same time, they're hoping to buff items, classes, and playstyles that have been left behind, and early game items should be less worthless than they are now. Please note that we will be conducting a lot of testing sessions with AlphaNet for this new rebalance to make sense at various stages of its development. And then they go on to talk about other games that are getting updates, but I don't care about that. I just care about Skyblock. This is an insane forum post. This is the first time that they're really announcing this many updates in advance. A foraging island, the combat island getting completely changed, the Blazing Fortress is going to be new, and then Skyblock 1.0. So that's going to be pretty much all that I needed to talk about in this video. I am insanely hyped for all of this, except expect some Crystal Hollows content coming out. I was trying to log into the Alpha Network, but I could not get in, even though I'm a YouTube rank. What the heck, admins? I'm just kidding, but this is just the craziest forum post that they have probably ever made, and I can't wait, especially for the foraging island. I just love foraging so much. I can't wait for it. But that is going to be it for today. I hope that this kept you informed. I hope it helped you out, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Peace out.